Hi, everyone. Welcome back. I wanted to take a little bit of time today to discuss a shoe that I've been running in the last few weeks here. Do a quick little review, let you know what my thoughts are, good, bad, indifferent, and just kind of where I see it kind of falling in general. So, that shoe today is the Nike Pegasus Premium. This shoe came out just about a week ago or end of last week. This falls into the Pegasus lineup from Nike. This is the top end of that lineup where they're doing the standard Pegasus, the Pegasus Plus, and the Pegasus Premium. The shoe itself comes in, it's about $210, which is very pricey, especially when you think about it as a Pegasus. But for that money, are you getting what you're paying for? And that's probably the biggest question that most people are wondering. So in terms of just overall stack height, it is I believe 4636. I have to double check that myself. I'll put update on the screen there. The midsole itself is ZoomX here on the top. On this entire top section here is all ZoomX there. And then on the bottom here, underneath the heel, going into the midfoot, you have some ReactX. So that's the foam that's found in the standard Pegasus. And then in the middle here, obviously the showstopper is this gigantic orange air zoom unit. So that's really probably the biggest thing that I think people are going to be catching and noticing and paying attention to. So this shoe, when I kind of break it down from the top down here, so the upper one is very, very padded. It is extraordinarily comfortable. There's plenty of padding here, pretty stiff heel, got the kind of that flaring back of the at the Achilles there. That's becoming a nice little feature. I like that. I know others don't. It can irritate some people, but to me, it just feels really good. The tongue is very nicely padded, very thick, but it also has these probably about 4 millimeter thick holes down the middle of them. And you can see that this just breathes really well. The rest of it is a circular mesh, so very similar, very reminiscent of kind of the Vaporfly in terms of just how it looks, in terms of how it breathes, not as much, but obviously, you don't need the race day ventilation on a daily trainer. The remainder of the shoe here, so underneath this area of the kind of the circular mesh, you have more of an engineered mesh. And through there, you can, if you look closely, you can see there's a lot of just perforations throughout that to allow really good airflow. So one of the things that stood out to me as somebody who is very much a sweaty, hot runner is that I really didn't feel like I was getting waterlogged in these shoes, which is good. Now, I will add the caveat that it is February in Illinois, so it's not necessarily the warmest weather out there. That being said, I've done a couple indoor runs. Either there's an indoor track near me or treadmill, and even on those runs, I never really felt like I was getting weighed down by the sweat that I was losing there. Now, that being said, that brings up the conversation about weight. I think a lot of people are really focusing on just how heavy these shoes are on the spec sheet. And yes, I'll admit, yes, a daily trainer over 300 grams like this, it's definitely a weighty shoe. This is definitely probably the heaviest shoe in my lineup in terms of daily trainers. I definitely have some heavier shoes that, aren't really in the daily trainer lineup, but in general, this is definitely the heaviest of the daily trainers. Now, that being said, one of the things that really, really, really stands out about this shoe is just how, I don't even want to say responsive, just how bouncy it is. This is just when you put your foot down. So I'm a midfoot, forefoot striker. So when I strike, I'm just coming down. I just have this ZoomX right here, and it's coming down and right into that nice bed of the Air Zoom magic there, and it just springs you forward. That was something that when I first put on the shoe, you could feel it underfoot. It feels a little squirrely, maybe a little bit loose underfoot, but at the same time, you can really feel just how responsive it's going to be. When you actually get out running with it, I've taken it on paces from just kind of easy, we're talking 90 seconds, if not that off of my marathon pace. I've taken it all the way up into above 5K pace, closer even to like mile pace. This shoe really sings kind of into that marathon, even into the half marathon pace. I didn't have any issues getting it up to 10K pace. At 5K, I definitely did start to feel that weight just a bit, and if I'm racing that short of a distance, obviously I'm not going to be wearing a shoe like this anyway. If I'm racing in general, I'm not wearing a heavy shoe like this, but for your interval workouts, for those training sessions as you're going through your season, something that gives you this kind of responsiveness is fantastic. Obviously having that weight under your foot, you know, has its pros and cons. I kind of like the idea of training with a slightly heavier shoe, just given the fact that then you're going to get even more benefit once you get into like the lighter weight shoes on race day. So for me, I really don't feel the weight on this much at all. In fact, I think the responsiveness and just how springy it is really balances that out quite well. The weight is not bottom heavy, so I think about, for example, like the Prime X2 Strung from Adidas. That shoe is very bottom heavy. Like you put that on, you just feel like you're swinging weights off the bottom of your feet. This one does not feel that way. It's pretty well balanced. I think some of it is because of how cushioned the upper is. There's a decent amount of weight up here to kind of balance out what you're feeling underneath. So while it'd be great to maybe lighten up some of this, and I'm sure future iterations will, I also wonder what they're going to do to lighten up the bottom to keep that balance so it doesn't go into that direction. Going for longer runs in it, I think would be a fantastic shoe for it. My first run out was it was a interval session that ranged everywhere, as I was kind of hinting at there, from as fast as I freaking can down to like marathon pace efforts, and then my easy efforts in there were about 60 to 90 seconds off marathon pace. In that time frame, I logged in about 9 miles or so, and my feet felt absolutely fresh. They didn't feel like they were even hurting at all, despite the work, despite the effort. And that was on a concrete based indoor track. So that's not necessarily the best conditions to really get, a nice soft feeling out of your feet. I expected my feet to be beat up, and they really weren't. Another thing that really stood out to me is my outdoor runs with this. Again, it's been winter time, so it's been a little bit harder to get out and run. The last couple winter runs I have done with it, though, one of the things that I love is just how this waffle pattern outsole really works. It's very reminiscent of kind of that traditional waffle pattern you see on the Peg 41, for example. Obviously, you have this nice big orange cutout there showing you that the air zoom unit is going right along the entire length of the shoe. But the grip on this is really good. I expect the wear and the durability to be, if not average, above average. I feel like the waffle outsoles tend to last quite a long time on most of the Nike shoes that I've run. When I did have some slicker sections, you get, especially this time of year, again, you're getting out there, might be a little bit wet, might be surprise ice here and there. I have not lost grip. I have not lost balance with it. I will say I'm not intentionally running over, icy things, but, wet, damp bridges with wood and, various surfaces that I have run across, even paint, like the road markings, none of those really gave me any trouble, any bother. And that's, high praise, I think, for a shoe like this. Where do I think this shoe could improve? One, again, we'll just talk about its weight. Obviously, the weight is a big factor here. I think a lot of people are probably going to be scared away from the shoe just based on that number alone, which I understand that, but I also encourage people to, if they have the opportunity to try it on, I think you might be actually very surprised by just how good it feels underfoot. The other real major issue I have with it personally is the fit is a touch on the narrow side ish. I don't have overly wide feet. I have, depending on who you talk to, and I have been fitted into wide shoes before, but I don't go out of my way to buy wide shoe. I find that the standard fit is usually quite good for most of them. That being said, when I did initially put these on for that first run, I had tied them to a nice comfortable tension, and I felt that it actually ended up being a little bit too tight. interesting enough, kind of as it was pulling more along, kind of in the kind of toward the heel area. When I loosened that up just a little bit and just kind of fit a little bit with just kind of the upper, like the laces on this upper section here, I have not had that issue since. I felt that it's been pretty good. The lockdown is excellent. Really no heel slip issues. I've just been very, very happy with this shoe, all things considered. Another con is the price. I think the price is definitely on the premium end. It's in, you can get race day shoes for the same price as this, or right in this range. I wouldn't be racing in this shoe. This is a daily trainer through and through. Even getting up into some of your tempo efforts if you want. I think this would be a shoe, like if you just wanted a 2-shoe rotation, this in a racing shoe, this would pair really well, I think, with an Alpha Fly a little bit more than the Vapor Fly. I run in both of those. I like both of them. I think that this feels a little bit more like an Alpha Fly underfoot than the Vapor Fly. The utility of the shoe, I think, comes from that. And additionally, I think that the thickness of the rubber on the bottom is going to give you some good quality, give you some good durability. I think it's going to let you use the shoe for a long enough period of time where the price tag becomes a little less concerning. In terms of just kind of how it looks and feels, a couple little bits about it. One, it is very stiff, as you can see. It does not want to flex, which creates a very nice like bed to kind of push off of when you're actually running with it. But underfoot, because of all this Zoom Air, or the Air Zoom unit here, because of all these different areas where it can really adapt to what your foot is doing, the pressure under it, it does not feel like it's anywhere near as stiff of a shoe as it is. So putting it into tempo efforts, I think, is just fine. You get a really nice firm push off with it. You get really good durability, I think, is what I would expect. We'll see as time goes on. That being said, I'm really excited about the prospects of this shoe. And if this is a marker of where Nike is going, I think that they have a much brighter future ahead of them in terms of kind of their little bit of like rebuild, reorganization, restructuring that they're doing at this time. The next thing that I want to just mention is in terms of not so much about the shoe itself, but maybe just the direction of Nike in general. I'm seeing a lot of the things about the Vomero. Now we're starting to see some leaks maybe of what the Vomero Plus might look like. I'm very interested in seeing what that is, but interestingly enough, I think that this shoe would actually partner with a Vomero, the standard Vomero, if the 18 is kind of what it looks like. In fact, I think they would almost be parallel options to each other. That one will probably be a little bit more on the cushion side, where this is going to be the little bit more responsive one. But that could be a very interesting comparison to make. So I will be trying that out once I have the ability to get one of the Vomeros. I expect that'll be toward the end of the month. At the end here, just a couple quick disclosures, because I usually like to put this in the front. I bought this shoe with my own money. I do not have anywhere near a follower count or any kind of backing to have, companies sending me stuff. So this shoe came out of my own wallet here. In fact, my entire wall of shoes came from my own wallet. I love to collect shoes more than anything here. I like the feeling of running in different things. I really like the changing aspect of it under my foot, because that gives me a chance to really, I think, dial in what I'm doing for the in various conditions. So I really have the opportunity, if I know it's going to be a little bit of a slicker day, if it's going to be a hotter day, I know I can choose a shoe that will work well, and I will be able to make that work best for me for the day. Coming up here, this coming weekend, I'm going to be racing a Trail 8K. It's race 2 of 3 of the local Winter Challenge Trail Series that they call it. It's the Fox Valley Winter Challenge Trail Series. I did the 5K a couple weeks ago. That went quite well. I felt that I was right up where I wanted to be with it. We'll see how the 8K goes. The course, I'm not familiar with the kind of the terrain at this preserve that this one's at, whereas I'm familiar with where the 5K and then the upcoming 10K are. So that's going to be like the one variable that I don't know about, but I'm hoping to just continue with where I've been and making good solid strides. Other than that, planning ahead still for getting ready to start my actual build for the Illinois Marathon at the end of April. I think that's going to be a fun event. I'm cautious and hesitant about putting any times out there in terms of what I want to achieve. I have something in mind, and I'll talk about it maybe a little bit more. I'm going to do a video talking about my marathon training plan a little bit soon, and then from there I'll put maybe some of that more information into that. Anyways, hope you guys are staying safe when you're running. Don't want anyone getting hurt. Wintertime, especially now we're getting closer into spring, or closer to spring, really. Nothing worse than getting hurt right at the beginning of a season. So really take it easy. Watch what you're doing. Don't go from 0 to 100 without, really taking that time. If you haven't been running for a little while, now is not the time to go out and just, go all in. Just ease back into it, but get those miles in, start getting the rust off, and I look forward to seeing you as the year goes on.